Okay, well, why don't we get started? I'm going to invoke an opening mantra, taking a moment, connect to your breath. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Oh, lead me from falsehood to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Oh, namaste, welcome. I'm going to invite you to just mute your microphone so that I stay on the screen. If there's like a background noise, then it'll switch and people won't be able to hear me. Um, yeah, and you too, Rosalind, can you mute your mic? And if it's all right with you, I mean, it would be really helpful, especially when we're going into the movement practice, to have your video on so I can just, get a better sense of where everybody's at and their feedback. So if you could turn off your mic, that would be great.
Recording in progress.
Oh, something's happening there. Okay, well, at least I pinned myself for now. I'm gonna mute Rosalind. Okay, well, welcome to Form to Feeling. I think the name of the workshop, I think someone needs to turn their mic off. And I don't have the ability to turn, Rosalind, are you there? Can you turn your microphone off, please?
I can't see where to do it. I'm sorry, I'm stupid.
You don't know how to do it?
No, I don't, okay, all right. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, that's what I was hoping wouldn't happen. Are there two Rosalinds in this chat right now? Is that why? Okay, great. Much better. Okay. So Form to Feeling. I studied Tai Chi for some time, and my Tai Chi master, Master Chu, he said something that always stuck with me, which is that um, we we use the form to practice the principles. We use the form to practice the principles because any movement practice, and martial arts is a great example because when you use it for a martial purpose, when you are in a fight, the form that you've practiced is not going to at all guarantee that the person that you are in combat with is going to engage with you in the way that you practice your movements, like this or like this or like this, or like it's all designed with a sort of a fictional enemy with common strikes. But what's most important is that you integrate the principles into your body so that no matter what is brought to you, you know how to respond. And it's the same thing in life. Like when we integrate principles into our life, regardless of the complexity or unforeseen nature of our circumstances, we have the innate intelligence of how to respond because we're rooted in principle. That's the power of principle. So the essence of what I want to convey in this class is the principle. And in particular, we're going to focus on one principle, which is the yield principle. The principles I'm drawing from are from a yoga teacher named Donna Farhi, and she developed these 7 moving principles of practice. And I find them to be these somatic sutras, and sutras are these intricate woven threads that hold a great deal of depth and meaning as you unpack them over time. So each of these principles is like a sutra, and as you go into it, it unpacks its relationality and its meaning as you get on the mat and you explore and move your body. So that's the intention of today's class. The other thing that my Tai Chi teacher would say is catch the feeling, catch the feeling, right? That was his aim for us. And his whole idea was that if you catch the feeling, then you have something to reference. And so my other intention or aim in this class is that you catch the feeling so that you have a reference, so that you have this sense of what it feels like to put this principle into practice. And if you have the feeling as it stays with you, then that's the most important thing I think that you take away from the workshop. So that's my goal and that's my aim. So my invitation to you is don't worry about whether you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. Like right or wrong is a very subjective thing because I don't live in your body. And these principles are subtle. I'm not gauging you based on your form. So, normally we're accustomed to like, are we doing it right or wrong when it comes to yoga asana? Like, does it look right? Does it look right? Does it look right? Right? Is my foot in the right place? Is my elbow in the right place? Is my spine straight? So on and so forth. So our sense of whether we're performing something correctly is based on an external metric. In this case, it's how it feels. And how it feels has to be your own guide. Now, I can give you pointers and clues as to how the principle looks like when it's in practice, but ultimately it's going to rely on your feelings. So you have to trust that. And this is where this next statement I'm going to share with you is really the guiding light, the North Star of any of this kind of work, which is that if there's no ideal process of perception, anything you feel or sense is worthy of your observation. Okay? If there's no ideal process of perception, anything you feel or sense is worthy of your observation. You could take this out to your whole life, really, but at least for the context of this workshop, anything you feel or sense is worthy of your observation because there isn't an ideal process of how you should experience or perceive something. So that's my invitation today in the class. And it's not going to be too long. We'll keep it short. We're not going to do a full yoga practice, but I'll take you through some exercises that will hopefully evoke that feeling. And then we'll run through sun salutations because that's a really pretty common, yoga vinyasa that all over the world people know, regardless of their background or lineage. And you should be able to catch the feeling in the sun salutation. Okay, awesome. So just a little bit more theory before we dive into the practice. There's 7 moving principles of practice. Breathe, engage, support, center, align, radiate, and yield. And it's not important that you know all of these at the moment because we're not going to practice them. I just want to give you a sense of like what the 7 are. And they're all interconnected, but the one that we're going to focus on today is the yield principle. And the yield principle is, I think, really kind of fundamental. They're all important, but I think breathe and yield are very fundamental to the entire approach to how we move our bodies on the mat with this intention of mindfulness. The word somatic is used a lot out there, but yoga without this mindful dimension rooted in principles is more of like an exercise gym process, right? So this is what it's going to ground you in, and yielding is very important for that. So let's go. I'm going to just read you what the yield principle is. You're welcome to take notes. If you want, I can paste it in the chat as well. It might be easier for you. Any surface of the body that makes contact with the ground must yield to the earth. Actively yielding to the earth creates a rebounding force away from the earth, elongating the body upward into space. Whenever the relationship of yielding to the earth is lost, breathing is restricted. Whenever the relationship of yielding to the earth is lost, breathing is restricted. So that's really important, because when we're observing ourselves in practice and we want to know, like, do I have a yielded relationship to the floor? Observe your breath, observe your diaphragm, observe your chest. If my breath is restricted, it's probably because I've lost my yielded relationship to the floor. The other important part of this is actively yielding to the earth creates a rebounding force away from the earth. So let's try this now. I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes and feel your sit bones on the floor, and soften through the sit bones. And as you soften through the sit bones in the floor, feel a lengthening and a rebounding force coming up through the spine. That's it. Simple as it can be. Now, it's a little harder to feel it when you're just sitting, so we'll do it as we're standing, these practices. But the idea is, when you actively yield to the earth, it creates a rebounding force. Now, you may or may not observe that rebounding force, so you don't experience the elongation upwards into space. But if you're aware that the rebounding force is there, you can use it. And that's what is used in martial arts, right? When Bruce Lee does his 1-inch punch, he's doing that 1-inch punch by actively yielding to the earth and then using that rebounding force to come and strike out. That's the idea. So you have to use it. So you use the rebounding force, and then you use, well, we'll explore these three parts of yield. But for now, I'm going to give you a little sense of what these three states are. So I'm going to invite you to stand up and follow me. I'm going to switch the mic now. So coming to stand. And so you have basically three states that you're in when you're on your yoga mat. So let's explore the propped position. When you are in the military and someone says, "Attention," and you come up and you prop. So imagine you're coming into a military prop. You can feel, as you're doing this, probably tightness in the hamstrings and the quadriceps, in the buttocks, probably in the knees, slightly locked. Good. And as you're propped, maybe notice your breathing, and you might notice a restriction in your breath. Okay. So just notice what prop feels like in the body. And generally, it's kind of a tightness, a constriction, and also a constriction in the breath. Then the next one is collapse. So really totally let go. Allow your shoulders to hunch down, sinking down, as if you're pretty depressed or sad. I like to think of Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh, who's like, "Hey, hi, I'm Eeyore, I'm just kind of here." So feel this collapsed state in the body. As you find the collapsed state in the body, you experience like a lack of support, and also the breathing is shallow and restricted as well. And then I'm going to invite you to sink your feet into the floor, and soften through the feet. And as you soften through the feet, slowly begin to lift and lengthen through the body as you come into a neutral standing position. And as in this neutral standing position, you're neither propping, so you're not intense, nor are you collapsing. Relaxing the fingers, slightly tucking in the chin. Notice how you can, the quality of your relationship to the floor right now through the feet. Good. So this is a yielded position. And so from this yielded position, we're going to explore this rebounding force by bringing our feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. And this is a common Tai Chi exercise. It's actually the first step in pretty much all the Tai Chi forms. And it looks like this. As you inhale, you're letting the hands float up. And then as you exhale, the hands are coming down. Now the hands are not coming any higher than chest height. As you inhale, the hands are coming up. And as you exhale, they're coming down. I invite you to do this a couple of times. Good, and then just relaxing the hands down. So now you've got the first idea of the movement. Now we're going to bring it more into the subtlety of the feeling. Now, yielding as a principle, for the most part, happens on the exhalation. When you exhale, whatever point of your body that has contact with the earth or the floor yields through that point of contact. So yielding feels like a softening. Okay? So when you're not yielding, you're propping, that means there's some tension and you're holding yourself away from the floor. Whereas when you're yielding, you're softening into the floor. And when you soften and yield to the floor, a rebounding force is produced that comes up through the body and then elongates you upwards into space. Okay? So as this is yielding and sinking down, there's an upward motion. This is all happening internally. Okay? I can do this movement like this. Okay? And now I'm not yielding. Okay? I'm not yielding. But from the outside, it still looks like I'm doing the same movement. Except right now, as I'm doing this movement, I have tension in my buttocks. I'm tightening my my legs, my ankles, my feet. Okay. Now, if I'm yielding, it's the same movement. It's just that internally, as I exhale, I soften into the floor. As I do, I feel a rebounding force lengthen through the spine as I elongate upward into space. Okay, that's all it is. Inhale, the arms come up. And as I exhale, I soften to the floor. As I do, I feel a rebounding force coming through the body, elongating through the top of my head upward into space. So try to see if you can catch the feeling of this elongation. Inhale, there's a softening. And exhale, yielding through the feet. Feeling the rebounding force through the earth. Gently elongating upwards into space. And gently relaxing. Okay, I'm gonna come and just open any questions. If there's any questions, just shout them out. Can you feel it, not feel it? We have another exercise or two, so you still have time to catch on to it. And remember, it's not about right or wrong. Remember our mantra, if there's no ideal process of perception, anything that you feel or sense is worthy of your observation. So does anyone have a question or something they felt or didn't feel? I'll just leave it open for a minute. Nobody has to share anything. We can keep moving to the other exercise if there isn't anything. Good. Okay. You got something?
Yeah, I found it interesting how the arms are floating up by themselves, kind of, and not by conscious muscle usage.
Yeah, exactly. So that's beautiful. And that's actually happening a bit more through the engage principle, which maybe at another point we'll explore. But that feeling of effortlessness is what we want. The Taoists called it Wu Wei. Wu Wei is effortless action, really, right? So the idea with the yielding is that it brings more effortlessness into our action. It's nice to have all this wisdom, but then embodying it, we can bring it into embodiment and practice on the way that we move our bodies with the yoga mat. And that was the kind of essence of where Tai Chi became the embodiment of the principles of Taoism. And I think it's beautiful to invite that into our Hatha yoga practice. Mostly, I think Hatha yoga was largely invented by men who don't know how to dance. Like it's just doesn't have that flow into it. If you go to classical hatha yoga, I don't enjoy it personally. And so this made me look at like, well, what are the movement modalities I enjoy that are still rooted in profound principles? And how would I bring that into my hatha yoga practice? So I'm going to give you another example of an exercise. So let's take this idea and we're going to basically sway from side to side. So imagine that you're making a figure eight, okay? And you have this figure eight that's going like this. So you're going to switch to one side, sink the weight into the earth, and then push into the floor and shift your weight over to the other leg. Sink your weight down, then push into the floor. Use the rebounding force to shift into your other hip, and you're making a figure eight with your hips. Starting slow, yielding, and then now we're pushing. So noticing that sequence, you yield, then you push, and then sink the weight, yield, push. Again, you're making a figure eight with your hips. Yield and push. Figure 8 with the hips. Okay. So now we're going to bring the full completion of this trinity of yield, push, and then reach. So now start to bring the arms in, but the arms are connected to your feet and its relationship to the rebounding force as it yields to the floor. So I'm yielding, pushing, and then reaching with my arm. Yielding, pushing, reaching with the arms. And then it's relaxing, taking a pause. So now you've got that, hopefully caught a little bit of that feeling of yielding, pushing, and then lengthening and reaching, coming back, down. This is something we see people who are connected to their bodies, especially dancers, who are really rooted in their bodies. You can feel when they are connected to the floor and the movement moving through the whole body. So that's the idea. We want to capture that quality of yield, push, and then reach. Any thoughts and questions before I take us then into some yoga asanas and see if you can feel what that's like. And then we're going to we'll do a vinyasa flow and we'll model it then once we warm up our bodies with one main yoga asana, which you should be able to feel this. Any questions, thoughts from people there? No, Bahati?
Oh,
Just unmute yourself again, Bahati. You have to unmute yourself. You had it a second ago. You have to unmute your microphone. You just did it. I mean, I was talking to you before. No. Okay, we'll find you again. Don't know what happened there for you. Why you can't. I'm guessing you just can't see me on the screen. Well, I trust you're meant to save your question and then we'll come back to that. Yeah? Okay. So let's come into sun salutation. Oh, let me move my mic again. 1 second. Now, I love sun salutation. Actually, I need a t-shirt. I got my Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu t-shirt, but I need like a I love sun salutations t-shirt. I think sun salutations are amazing, amazing full body practice. And I think when you weave in the moving principles, especially the yield one, it's really powerful. So as we're moving through the sun salutations, I want you to just notice, just add this little extra dimension of noticing where you are yielding. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the principle again. Okay. So let me read it to you. Any surface of your body that makes contact with the ground yields to the earth. So when you're doing sun salutations, if your knee's in contact with the ground, your knee yields. If the top of your foot is in contact with the ground, that yields. If your hands are in contact with the ground, like when you come into downward facing dog, that's where your yielding is, right? So any surface of the body that has contact with the earth, that's where the yielding happens. And when you actively yield, there's a rebounding force away from the earth, and it elongates the body upward into space. So for example, when you're in your downward facing dog and you yield to your palm, if there's a rebounding force coming up through the palm, it's coming through the arm, elongating through your spine, and then through your sit bones up into space. Okay? It's just completing this movement. Okay? And it's called yield, then you're pushing, and then you're reaching. And we'll get that especially at the end when we break it down with the yoga asana. The other part to remember is that whenever the relationship of yielding to the earth is lost, your breathing becomes restricted. So just notice through the sun salutation whether your breath is being restricted or not. Okay. So we're going to bring this into our sun salutations now. Ready? Your feet are shoulder width apart. Again, start by finding that yielded relationship to the floor in Tadasana. Good. As you inhale, let the arms float up. And exhale, hinge from the hips, floating down. Here you're yielding to the floor through the feet. Good. Let's hold here for a minute. Practice the principle. As you inhale the breath, slightly lifting the torso. As you exhale, yield to the feet through the earth. Use the rebounding force to lengthen through the back of the legs. Hinge from the hips and come deeper. One more here. Inhale, feeling the slight lift. Exhale, soften through the feet, lengthen through the back of the legs, hinge from the hips, fold. Bend the knees, inhale, halfway lift. Good. Exhale, send the left leg back. Drop the left knee down to the floor. Good. So find proper support here before coming up. Inhale, arms floating up. Good. On the exhale, yield through the feet, through the knees. Feel the rebounding force moving up through the spine. Lengthen and reach through the fingers. Holding here for another breath. Inhale. Feel the expansion of the lungs and the chest. Exhale, yield to the floor. Lengthen and reach. One more breath in. And exhale, down. Good. Press back, downward facing dog. Nice, slow, deep breath in and out. Inhale, floating forward into plank pose. Exhale, lowering down, knees, chest, chin, coming to earth. Inhale, coming up, cobra or low cobra. And exhale, down. Curl the toes, press up and back, downward dog. Then the left leg back on the inhale. Exhale, bring the leg between the hands, drop the right knee. Inhale, flowing the arms up. Good. And then holding here. Exhale, softening through the feet, yielding to the floor. Lengthen and reach. Remember that if you've lost that yielded relationship, it means that your breath will be restricted. So check right now, what's happening with my breath in this pose? Does it feel constricted? If so, yield to the earth through the feet. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, step the feet together. Lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Yielding through the feet, lengthening through the back of the legs, hinging from the hips, reaching from the top of the head. Bend the knees, inhale, coming all the way up. Palms together, down in front of the heart. Exhale, Anjali Mudra, yielding through the feet, elongating upwards into space. Inhale, arms up. Beautiful. Let's do another round. Exhale, fold. As you're exhaling, you should feel the yielding to the earth, the lengthening through the back of the legs. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, send the left leg back. Inhale, arms up. Stay here for another breath. And exhale, hands down. Press back, downward facing dog. Inhale, floating forward into plank. And lowering down, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, coming up, cobra. Good. Stay here for another breath. Exhale, yield the palms into the floor, the backs of the feet. Lengthen through the spine, open the heart and chest. Good. Stay here for another full round of breath, using the exhale to practice the yield principle. And on the next exhale, coming down, curl the toes, press up and back, downward dog. Good. Here in downward dog, on the exhale, yielding to the floor through the palms. As you do, pressing into the floor, using the rebounding force, sending the sit bones up and back to the wall behind you. Good. Inhale, send the left leg back. Exhale, between the hands, drop the right knee. Inhale, floating the arms up. Holding here for that exhale. One more breath in. And exhale down. Step the feet together, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, coming all the way up. Palms together, down in front of the heart, Anjali Mudra. Find the pause. Good. Just check your relationship to the floor now. Now we're going to come into our posture that we're going to workshop here, which is Parsvokanasan, side angle pose. So sending the right foot back. Just check you here. Yeah. So you're going to align the inner arch of the back foot with the heel of the front foot. So if you're going to draw a line from the heel of the front foot to the inner arch of the back foot. So once you have that, Align the left knee over the left ankle. Root through the back leg. So just start practicing that. Feel yourself. I yield through the back foot. Press into the floor. Feel the rebounding force coming up through the side body. Don't engage the arm yet. Just feel that ability to yield and press through the back foot. Just engage that yielding action. Can you feel that? You're yielding, pushing, and reaching through the top of the head. Okay, then bring the left elbow onto the left thigh, the right hand on the right hip. Good. Gently rotating from the navel center. Open the heart and chest to the side of the room. Good. Now on the exhale, press the back foot into the floor, yielding, lengthening, and then reaching through the side body with the right arm. On the exhale, yielding to the floor, pushing, lengthening, and reaching. And now just subtly stay in this pose, almost like a jellyfish, how a jellyfish gently expands and contracts. Feel the dynamic quality of yielding, pushing, and reaching with your inhale and exhale. Very nice. Inhale coming up. Very good. Step the feet together. Come back to Tadasana. Now switching to the other side. So again, aligning the heel of the front foot with the inner arch of the back foot. And again, practicing that yielding motion, yielding through the back foot, lengthening through the spine, through the top of the head. So find one continuous flow of force through the body. Okay? One continuous flow of force moving through the body. This line of force, establish it. Bring the right elbow on the right thigh. Gently rotate from the belly. And then on the next exhale, bring the arm up and over the head. Yield, push, and then reach. Breathing in. Exhale. If you want to come deeper, sending your hand down to the floor, you're welcome to do that. We're not going to do a bind because it doesn't go into our class right now, but exploring this a little more. Again, like a jellyfish, finding that dynamism in the static pose. And inhale coming up. Very nice. And since we're here, just staying in the long, wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, yield to the floor through the feet. Use the rebounding force to lengthen through the spine, sending the sit bones back and the top of the head towards the front of the room as you fold forward and down. As you inhale, the breath fills the lungs. And as you exhale, soften to the floor through any point of contact, your hands and your feet to the floor. Then lengthen and reach. Slowly coming back to the front of the mat. Pressing back into a child's pose. And let's just take a moment here in child's pose. And here in child's pose, completely feeling that yielding quality now. Every part of the body that's touching the earth, feel yourself yielding through that contact, just resting. Very nice. And slowly coming back up. Okay. Hey, Vahati, we got you back now on the mic. It's hot. Feedback, questions, comments. What did you notice?
When we were doing the figure eight, we were doing it in one direction. For my body, I like to do it both so I don't habituate on one side.
What do you mean we were doing it in? I was doing it in both directions.
Oh, okay. You
So it's a
didn't,
how can you do a figure eight in one direction? Because it has to go like this. It's not possible.
okay.
Figure
got
eight, you can't, otherwise it's not a figure eight. It's just like this. Right? A figure eight has to go from here to here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just overthinking that one.
We're all guilty of that at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt it when I was in child pose. I really felt the yield in child pose.
Uh-huh. Right. It is true. And it makes sense because that's often the place where, we come to our practice after we've been going for a while, and then we come into child's pose and then we feel, right? We have that sinking quality. Now, if you can get that feeling and bring it qualitatively into all your postures without collapsing, now you're practicing yielding. You can bring it into a number of postures.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Thoughts, experiences?
I'm just drawing my figure eight on my mat.
Okay.
I can, when I draw it, I can go in two directions.
Yes. Yes. Great. Steffi, anything from you? You got it. You're good. Phyllis, there's just a few of us here, so you're welcome to ask a question or give a comment. Otherwise, I'll close it out, because the most important thing for you to do with this is to practice, right? To find it. And you can do it while you're walking. You can do it while you're standing. You can do it while you're sitting. You can bring the quality of yielding in any position that you're in, because essentially there's a part of us, I mean, unless you're super advanced and you can levitate, but there's a part of us that's always connected to the earth. So how are you finding that yielded relationship to the earth? When you bring it into your yoga practice, remember that a couple of principles. One is bending your knees when you're standing makes it easier to feel the action of yielding to the earth. So if you can't feel it, just bring a slight bend in your knees. And you can unfold or fold any joint to stimulate it, right? So that little bit of folding, unfolding gives you that yielding quality. Generally, again, we're yielding on the exhalation, and then you feel the rebounding action more on the inhale. And if you have tension in your toes, in your feet, your knees, your hips, or your buttocks, those things prevent yielding. So you want to check those areas often, right? Because if you have tension there, you're not going to be able to soften, and you won't then feel the rebounding force coming up through the floor. Yeah. So those are my tips for you. Practice. That's what my first Tai Chi teacher said, practice, catch the feeling. And he said 5 years, but this is much faster than 5 years because, you know, it's not like a whole form that you need to learn. You already have your form. The idea is just to bring the principle into the practice, to soften and to feel. If you're interested in this and you want to go in more depth, there's a book by Donna Farhi. She's the one who developed the moving principles of practice. It's called Yoga, Body, Mind, and Spirit. It's an amazing book. Yoga, Body, Mind, and Spirit by Donna Farhi. And then she goes in depth to the moving principles and these exercises. And if you want to go more deeply into a practice that integrates them, you can join us in Costa Rica. You'll probably get an email about that or hear about our Heart of Practice immersion in November. So one of the things that we're doing is, it's very different when you're, you know, in a physical space and then you're being led through each of these moving principles and you explore it and each day you practice and then it starts to really become rooted inside your body. And then you have moments where they click and you're like, oh, wow, this is what it's like to move with these principles. And it starts to feel more effortless and it's moving through you. That's a really nice feeling. So thank you for being here. And I wish you the best on your mat and to apply your principles in practice. Namaste.
Thank you for teaching.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Namaste.